Hello there, and welcome back to the Disconnected. I'm here with Grant, also known as Movie Buff Grant. And first thing I gotta say, Grant, I apologize. This has been like a long time in the making. I've just been so dang busy. It's been so hard to keep up with everything. So thank you for doing this finally.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. Like last couple of years ago, I did a live stream with Nathan and KB with twice this past year, and now getting to meet you and some of your reconnected people just makes a life difference with me. So, yeah.
It's great to have you. For those that don't know, Grant is a staple on the Instagram scene, and he does a whole bunch of live streaming with some of the other individuals that talk in the physical media community, really just praising film. And yeah, we're just going to dive into who Grant is a person and what he likes to watch, spend his time on, what he collects, because you're going to find that some interesting stuff as well. And one of the big things is Grant and I actually have a lot in common when it comes to some of the things that make us up as people and how it affects our families. So we're going to be discussing autism as well today. So why don't we start with that, Grant? Autism seems to be a big part of what you talk about, and why is that?
Thankfully, I was one of those people that was born in the 2000s area as a millennium. So I didn't start talking like right away, but I was at the age where I was like pointing everywhere. But until I was like age 4, I think I got this from my grandparents. Like I was watching like the Weather Channel and just looking up words like
Hmm.
weather or what the temperature is going to be like or anything like that. So my first words were entirely from the Weather Channel, and I'm opened 100% with autism awareness, especially because we're talking about autism, but also I have a lot of things in common when it comes to film, and also my first ever feature film, and entirely was I think it was Shrek, and I think I watched that film so many times because as part of the autism spectrum, you don't get a lot of things within the first viewing, so you have to like
Right.
watch it over and over and over again. That's one of the signs is that you watch some of your favorite movies over and over and over again. And honestly, I kind of break that habit just a little bit, but not entirely through though. But there are some things that I always keep brought up. But yeah.
I had never heard you tell the story about the Weather Channel before, and one of the reasons why this is something that both of us are going to talk about is both of my kids are diagnosed with autism. I honestly still have this inkling feeling that if I were to be properly evaluated, I might come out on the spectrum a little bit. But both of my kids are the same way that you just described. They didn't speak until later. My youngest, especially, he didn't really have many words until he was about 4.5. He was fairly quiet, but the Weather Channel was so important to me from what you just said because, like I said, both my kids are autistic, and I have a video from when my oldest was, oh man, I think he was about 4 years old, and we went on vacation to Omaha, Nebraska, and we were in the lobby of a hotel eating breakfast, and my kid stood up on the booth in the chair, and they had the Weather Channel on, and he
Oh,
was standing up giving us the weather report just like you just said. It's so perfect.
you should have recorded it and posted to YouTube right across the Autism Awareness Month.
You
Without
know
that
what's hilarious?
staple.
I did record it, and I'm probably going to put it in this video when I post it. So
Oh my god.
I'm going to see if I can get it added in. I got to see if I can find it. It is so great, and he's loved weather ever since then. I don't know what it's been. Just like you said, it's some of the books we read at night. Like he likes reading about tornadoes and hurricanes and natural disasters, and yeah, loves it.
Powerful, it has to go to a test of adult food. And that
Why is there yogurt all over your hand?
no yogurt on my hand. I just need to clean it off. And there was a spot of stank. That was a women of Daytona over here. And that's why the spot is getting there with loose cow. And that was the people going again. One corner. That was just a touch of beer. That was just a
So one of the things that I do not watch as of now is sci-fi and natural disasters because usually my visions would predict the future-wise, and I'm just like that's just type of a guilty pleasure thing. So I was like, I may not watch the core or Deep Impact like right away because of the visions and things that I see in the future. Like I just don't want to be a part of that. But it is like a little bit disturbing for me myself because thankfully it was 2017 when that happened that I just decided to avoid sci-fi and other future things
Right.
of anything, but I only focused on what I want and focus what I intend on doing.
So one of the big questions surrounding autism, and obviously a lot of the stuff that I do for my channel is for film. I like to ask this question here because I'm raising 2 kids and I love movies. I want them to love movies. So and obviously autism being a very wide spectrum, it affects people very differently. This answer is not going to be the same for everybody. But for you, Grant, do you find that autism affects the way you watch movies in any way other than watching the same movies over and over again?
Despite the sci-fi genre and the natural disasters, it does affect me with those types, but with other film genres such as like comedy, kids and family, action and adventure, those don't affect me personally unless if it's like future relative like Cowboys versus Aliens or what is another one? Interstellar. Or anything that involves just the type of future films that I like to see being happy, or like anything that involves happy feelings. I'm like, okay, I can give this one a watch.
Right.
Just keep most of the films just related of what I want.
So do you try to avoid movies that are known for having like a sad overall mood to them?
I tried to open that up a little bit. For the first time ever, Requiem for a Dream I watched for the first time. And that movie came out in 2000, and I was a 2000s baby. And thank the Lord, I did not do any of those type of, alcohol or drugs, but It was a tough watch. For many people, if you can bear through some of the scenes, like tough watches, such as like Requiem for a Dream. What was another one? Eden Lake, Cannibal Holocaust, or what is another one that just came out recently? The Whale. I think you need to have like a right mood set for some of these films, so that you can have a brave face saying like, I'm ready to watch this film. And when it comes to like ratings, I am a G guy, I'm a PG guy, and I'm a PG-13 guy. No rated R except for Paranormal Activity, which I have in my collection right now. But also, I did watch, no. I don't want to go through that. But I did watch Nothing to Lose for the very first time, and it is so funny.
It's a great movie.
I'll just say that. But other than that, nothing involved the G, PG, or PG-13, or not rated, such as like classics from 30s through 60s. I'm just like whatever type of guy that be like, wait, do I need to check the rating on this? And
Right.
I would look at the back to see which rating. Like, for example, I think I have. Yeah, this just came out on Criterion, and Time Bandits is one of
Ooh,
them.
yeah.
And if you look at the back of the cover, you would see a rating sign right over here. So it would have to be like a PG or a PG-13 type esque, and be like, is it PG? You put it in the cart and just have it in your collection for quite some time.
I love that I ask if you avoid sad movies and you bring up Requiem for a Dream, which is known as one of the most depressing movies ever.
It is a tough watch, to be fair, and with some people that have dealt with drugs or alcohol, this is a movie for
Yeah.
them if they want to quit. But it does have life and after effects, because I remembered back in my high school days, one of the policemen showed a video of what would happen if you started doing drugs and alcohol, and I dealt with worse. I dealt with worse. Like, I'm not going to explain most of the scenes because I want to keep this one a PG level live stream. Just like the nose running and a hole in your chest is just something that you can't even describe. Like painful memories, and yes, drugs can lead to cancer. Is one of those things.
Absolutely. So you explain the ratings, but now obviously especially through Instagram, there's a very specific type of things that you usually post about that you seem to love to collect. Can you share with everybody what are your favorite things to collect for physical media?
If you guys saw my brands and franchises post, you would know what type of collections that I would love. So for the first one, I started collecting day one. Day one that I started collecting, and it is Paramount. Paramount has been a number one collection for me, and it was just like a dream. Like, I owned Days of Thunder, I owned Airplane, I owned Indiana Jones, despite the first one being the worst movie I've seen in my life. But the second, the second and third were good. The fourth was mediocre. The fifth one ended perfectly, in my opinion.
So you think the fourth and fifth Indiana Jones are better than the first one?
There were a couple of scenes that I couldn't bear with. There were,
Oh, Grant.
but I did like the face melting scene
Oh, yeah.
from Raiders of the Lost Ark, and what was that propeller fight, and then the ninja guy. This is the reason why that it needed to be PG-13, by the way, because it was so off the charts. But I think it was that bar fight scene where I could not bear some of the. And I remembered watching one of that bar fight scenes, and a McDonald's rebate offers from Ghost or either Charlotte's Web at one of my schools. It terrified the heck out of me. So I was like, okay, I'll put that one into the collection, but I will never watch that. You know where I'm going at. It's a movie that I love, but I cannot stand type of films. And I explained this with KB, by the way, for why that I hated that movie.
Oh, that's fantastic. So out of Paramount, what do you think are a couple of the favorites that you have from Paramount?
So far, I have Terms of Endearment, which is on the next shelf. The Evening Star, which is a sequel to Terms of Endearment. Watched that movie twice, and I love that film. Let's see, what else do I have? Charlotte's Web, Clear and Present Danger, and what's another one? Fairy Tale: A True Story, which is one of the 1997 films that won Academy Award for Best Picture, I believe. And what else do I see up top? Oblivion from Full Moon. That was one of the favorite sci-fi horror films that I was like, okay, it might have been 3,000, but if if it has like a peace and happy and no one dies, well, except for a couple of people, I can deal with that. But yeah, I have like so many titles that I need to watch because usually I would get through some of the films, but there is like a ton of films that I haven't even seen, especially, for example, like I just picked up The Quiet Man and I haven't seen it since I picked it up in March. And it usually balance of where do I want to watch it, like whether it be beginning of the month or at the end of the month, and I would have to expand, like I need to put a timestamp, and I just watched Once Upon a Time in the West, which was back in June or July, and yeah. I'm just gonna leave it at that because I don't want to ramble on for too long for Paramount. Then DreamWorks became a thing because throughout the pandemic, I started to rethink what my collection was going to be like. And it was supposed to be DreamWorks. Then I grabbed Marvel Studios for like Spider-Man, Deadpool. I got all of those from 2021. Lucasfilm, which I got Willow for the first time.
Ooh,
and
great one.
Then I got Aardman, which is like Wallace and Gromit, Shaun the Sheep, and what is another film? Early Man and the Pirates. Got all of those except for the sequel, which is a Shout Factory release. And then I am going to be doing something very soon with Full Moon Features, which is going to be kind of like Full Moon and Moonbeam related products that are, depending on which ratings that I have to choose from after the Paramount deal that they had back in 93 and ended in 1998. So I think it was just that.
Interesting. And then obviously it seems like Disney is a big part of what you've been talking about for quite some time too.
Yeah, so I do own Disney Plus for the most of the part. If it's like a streaming exclusive, like for example, WandaVision that's getting a Blu-ray and 4K release, Steelbook, I would have that, but I just need to have like all Disney, all Pixar. I just want to have my own brands of choosing. And yes, I do own Paramount Plus as a second streaming option for other things. And then the third one, I don't have a no clue on. So I just have those two, Disney Plus and Paramount Plus.
So what kind of formats are you pushing for? Because I know that you've talked about VHS and DVD quality a lot.
Yeah, those are the two that are still going to be remaining. VHS and DVD quality. Mainly for anyone that has be like, hey, Grant, you should do a Blu-ray, or Grant, you should do 4K. Like, I respect your opinions on Blu-ray and 4K quality and formats, but they're like way too much. And for example, Arrow Video and Vinegar Syndrome are like one of the best like boutique labels. I don't buy those because because when I spoke to KB about the boutique labels, I called them fancy because they would be paying up overpriced, like $27 to $40 per title
on the low end.
Yeah, and then on Black Friday they would be like $13 or $15, and I'm like, yeah, that's not gonna settle me for quite some time. But I would just do the studio brands, of course, and then of course franchises as well, which I didn't get into mostly, but at least I got something in mind that what I have visioned for myself in the future.
Interesting. So what I gotta ask, as somebody that is outspoken on autism, trying to get that awareness up and loves film, why start the Instagram and why be a part of all of this publicly with everybody?
So 2020 was definitely one of those big hitters, and I actually got into Horror Fest very recently. But I actually started a little bit slow with Disney films that I've seen in theaters, like for the past couple years.
Yeah.
Like, for example, Coco came out in 2017. I know that we're going to do something very soon with the Pixar ranking. But Christopher Robin, Freaky Friday, the DCOM remake, Toy Story 4, Lion King. I did all of that just right before I did the Horror Fest live stream. And the Horror Fest blew up, like post upon post upon post. Like, I think the one that got up to the most level was Jaws and Cat's Eye from Stephen King.
Interesting. Okay, so you alluded to it. We should probably start our Pixar ranking. So Grant and I were discussing what would be something that would be fun to have, just a little back and forth, top 5 favorites of something. And with Disney and DreamWorks, they're so huge. They have so many movies. It's almost impossible to do a top 5 for something like that. So we kind of settled on Pixar. And even with Pixar, there's quite a few, but they've sort of had like their different eras where they've got different styles. They've had quite a few sequels at this point. They seem to be focusing on almost like coming of age type stories at this point for a few years now. So we settled on Pixar. We're going to do our 5 favorites. So why don't you go first with your number 5, and then I'll share mine, and we'll go back and forth all the way till our number 1.
All right, so my number 5 is actually very recently, and I don't know if you have seen the movie already, but Elemental is my number 5. And,
it's a good one.
But for those of you that guys don't know, it's kind of like an animation version of Guess Who's Coming to Dinner with Sidney Poitier. And Guess Who that 20th Century Fox did like a decade ago, right before Elemental.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a feel-good rom-com, but you have to think about that there is no villain, but an emotional power punch of element of story as well.
So when it comes to Elemental, what do you think was some of the best parts of that one for you?
I think the line alone at the ending, I think like right before Wade comes back to life, like, of course you have strict parents, like the dad mainly, just, by the way, spoiler alert, we have to keep in spoilers for anyone that has not seen Elemental. Come back here just a little bit, and then after you've seen Elemental, and then come back over here. So the spoiler in this one, just saying he gives back, Ember gives back the blue fire to the father, and he says, "I'm a terrible daughter. I should have reconnected with your steps." But the father says, "The shop was not supposed to be your dream. You were the dream." And I was like, good Lord, if I had a daughter like that, I would have cried my heart out from seeing that scene. And
yeah.
It was such a power punch, and I think animated rom-coms need to be a little bit of a thing, just a little bit, but just focus on serious subjects a little bit more than often. Yeah, Elemental is my number 5.
How'd you feel about the animation in this one? Because if I remember
very well,
it's great, right? Because I think I remember them saying that for what was the Pixar one right before this? Was that Soul?
Soul, and what was another one? Turning Red was going to be their next film, and Lightyear would have been the same year with Turning Red. And then 2021 was Luca.
Okay, so I if I remember right, I think it was either Turning Red or Lightyear. They reported that Pixar had like 30,000 computers working on it, or servers to house all the data that it took to do this. And Elemental, because it was such a new type of animation that they were doing on this, and it was so detailed, it took like 5 times that. It was like 150,000, which is insane to think of, but you see it. and you get it because it looks so much better than many of these other
It is
recent
really
movies.
good.
Yeah. So my number 5, I actually just brought up. My number 5 is Soul. I'm a big music person, and I was hit pretty hard watching Soul. And the fact that the story is about death and the whole, dealing with coming to the end of your life and maybe having regrets or missing out on things, and everything about this movie just kind of hit. It hit hard. Super great voice acting throughout this. But my biggest thing, we got Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross doing the score, John Batiste doing a lot of the soundtrack, and the fact that the music is such a deeply ingrained portion of this movie, I fell in love with it immediately. I think this is easily one of my favorites.
Soul ended up being one of the best Pixar films, not within my favorite of all time, because you always got to have the original first that started them all. But Soul hit hard with me, but it didn't lead up to the 5. It did make my top 10
Nice.
Pixar films of all time, but it didn't hit my top 5. But the biggest part with Soul was the afterlife was the huge part of the film, and I kind of liked where souls have been walking around and trying to see which person gets that route. And I actually kind of love Soul for what it was, and being like a jazz person, but also having, you can do jazz, but you need to think about your family and your friends first to see what their interests are, and you can make like some type of living with jazz being on your side.
Good way to say that. So what is your number 4, sir?
My number 4 actually is similar to yours, but I'm picking my different film to Onward, which is very, very well done film. And Coca might be seeing this one because they saw it right before the pandemic hit, and I didn't see it until Disney Plus was a thing and brought it early. And I watched the film. That film is so superb. And if you kind of think about your father losing a parent at a young age, it is, first off, it is very heartbroken, but you also have someone to guide you as well, especially with Tom Holland and Chris Pratt's characters like being together, and they had like a different wish list. Like all of that was completed thanks to his brother. And did it hit me hard? It did a little bit, but not like emotional punch within my soul. It's just like, honestly, I do not cry in some films, but when it hits like, for example, Requiem for a Dream or other things like that, I would have tears. But Onward didn't make me cry, but I do understand why they had to go through that direction as well.
I don't remember. Do you have siblings?
Yeah, I have two.
That could be why too. It's a very brother focused story, and it's that part of excuse me. That part of the story is like crucial, and if you've got a close sibling to you and you lean on that while you watch it, yeah, it definitely can get emotional.
Yeah, thankfully I watch this film by myself, so it's usually I watch films by myself very often, because usually when it comes to movies, I would just be by myself, think my own opinions. And yes, I do not talk during the film, which some of my family can get a little bit worse when it comes to talking in film. And I'm just like, yo, can you shut up, please? Yeah, you know. Because I think you might have families that might talk over the film, and you're just like, oh, can that person ever be quiet? You know.
Yeah, that happens a lot. I'm not a big fan of that, so I wish people would just wait.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, Onward is my number 4, and I cannot wait for what they do with that one after. Not a sequel, but hopefully something original
Yeah.
that would take after Onward.
Yeah, I think this is a good pick, and I think that this is probably one of the most underrated Pixar movies. I think a lot of people, I don't know if it's because Chris Pratt is the main voice actor, and a lot of people have turned against him, but it seems like people just didn't see this one, and I don't really get why, because the animation is pretty good in this, and the voice cast really good. They actually turn in really good performances. It's a fun story. It's emotional, and yeah, it's fun. It's also super unique. It's not main characters that we see a lot because they're fantasy type characters. So it's nice.
Yeah, they are.
My number 4 is actually going to be close to your number 5, and I'm going to go with one that feels kind of like Elemental and go with Inside Out. Inside Out is one of my favorites of all time, and this movie, I've said the word emotional probably 15 times since we started this, and Pixar, they're the epitome of emotional, and Inside Out, it hits the comedy, it hits the sadness with, a Bing Bong dying, it hits when you're a parent, I've got 2 young kids, and seeing the parents being out of touch with our main character in the movie, it's a hard movie to watch and not get caught up in some of those emotions, but it's really well made. It looks great. It's a fun idea to imagine, your brain tossing around these core memories, and it's just easily one of the greats, I think.
Yeah, but well, actually, as it turns out, your number 4 actually became my number 1. Actually, so the reason why I picked it at number 1 was mainly because because I had to deal with a ton of moving.
Wow.
Because I was born originally in Dallas, Texas, and I moved over here for Denver, Colorado, and it made such a huge impact within me. And it may be a funny thing, but originally I had a lot of Texas friends right beforehand, and I just moved into a new state, and I didn't like being a part of that. But when that movie came out, it got my emotions and it hit me hard
Nice.
with that scene. So Inside Out is my number 1, and yours is number 4. And I like some of the emotions, and also has like a little bit of a message saying you can let go with some of your past, but you cannot forget who you truly are, especially with Bing Bong made a sacrifice.
Yep.
Spoilers, by the way. We have to keep speaking about spoilers because some people may not know when the spoiler hits. So,
yep.
Yeah, but Inside Out is my number 1, and yours is number 4. And I'm not going to talk about my number 1 anymore because you just mentioned it.
Well, then let's get to your number 3, sir. What is your number 3, Grant?
The most memeable, Turning Red at number 3.
The most memeable.
Because Turning Red has a number of memes just across, but it's also a mother and daughter story,
Yes.
especially. No villain whatsoever, but how do I say this? It is like one of the most purest emotional, because Encanto came out like right before Turning Red, and both Turning Red and Encanto had same topics, but with different aspects. Just this movie didn't hit hard, but I was going through a feeling that if my daughter had to go through this stage of that, I would be 100% supportive of choosing the right things, right trust, it is just whatever. But Turning Red, I liked the movie a lot, and it became my number 3 from 2022 because it was so memeable, and also when one of those scenes she does her homework and she makes that base. That one was the most memeable out of anything that I've seen, and I'm like, yep, that's gonna be memeable for the end of time. So, Turning Red is my number 3, and one more thing is Pixar dealt with keeping it PG, but it has to deal with the period scene, and they did it pretty well with this one. And same goes to Baymax, very hard.
Yeah, I would agree on this one. I think that they did great with it. And one of the things I really want to point out on this is how specific the story really is, because it's about Asian immigrants living in Canada going through this coming of age story. And yet it's still so relevant for everybody watching this. It's something that you can grab onto and really relate to in very different ways. And I'm just glad that they were able to tell that specific of a story and didn't shy away from it. Because I think other studios may have said, no, we want this to appeal to everybody, so let's make it a more broad story. But they really hit this one out of the park, I think.
Yeah, but in the past, Disney did, Studio Ghibli did their movie with Only Yesterday.
Yep.
And it didn't get a physical release from Disney because of that subject. Now they kind of regret doing it, but it was an apology. Turning Red was also an apology for not making that movie sooner than later. So I'm just like, yeah, I'll give this one a pass for Only Yesterday and keep Turning Red as my version of what my daughter in the future would go to.
Well said. Definitely well said. So my number 3 is a number 3, and I think it is the perfect end to a nearly perfect trilogy, and I'm going to go with Toy Story 3. I'm not upset that they made a Toy Story 4 at all. Believe me, it's a good movie, but for me, the actual core heart of the story ended with Toy Story 3, and it's just so existential. I mean, everybody knows that incinerator scene. It was. We're all sitting in the theater going, oh my God, are they about to kill these toys? And it was so great to watch and feel this pressure of your childhood dying right in front of you if you grew up with these movies. And it was so well animated, and watching the growth of these characters over 3 very different movies, it was the pinnacle of this story. And I just fell in love with it immediately. I think it's the best of the Toy Story films. I love this one.
Yeah, Toy Story 3, it didn't, first off, I didn't cry throughout most of the scenes. Mainly because it was very well done, and I know what they were going for. But that furnace burn didn't make me sad. I think if you can hold on, bear it together, and just wait for a perfect moment. And when they got saved, I was like, that's how you save your childhood characters from that there. But Toy Story 3 was a perfect trilogy, in my opinion. Toy Story 4, yes, it's a good movie. And yes, I did have a tear in one of the Toy Story 4 scenes. But I will not share or even mention the fact right away. But Toy Story 3 is one of the perfect trilogies. And I agree with you that it is a perfect, solid trilogy. However, Toy Story 4 was kind of like my way of saying, this the 4th needed to come to an end in my own way.
I will say I watched Toy Story 4 in the theater, and I liked it enough, but the one thing that I took away from it, the opening scene, it's if I remember right, it's a rain scene. That's how they start the movie. It's raining outside. Yeah. The animation in that scene is astonishing. The rain looks incredible. Like, that might be the prettiest scene in all of the Toy Story movies, even though the rest of the movie kind of doesn't live up to that.
I think the best one for me was Toy Story 2 with the whole Lightyear and Zurg thing at the beginning.
Nice.
I think that one was the perfect one. The fourth one was kind of like an average modern,
Yeah.
like if a toy gets lost, all that type of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, just do whatever. Just do whatever, Pixar. Just don't give us a tear in every single moment. But you did get me. You did get me.
Totally get that.
But yeah, that's. I agree with you. Toy Story 3 is one of the most perfect trilogy ever.
Well, since we already know your number one, let's go out of order. I'm gonna do my number two, and then you can do your number two, and then I'll do my number one. That way we can take turns here at the end still. So
Yeah.
my number two, hopefully I'm not stealing yours either by saying this. My number two is Ratatouille. Brad Bird made this wonderful movie, filmed in this gorgeous way, because they went into restaurants and copied everything that are in commercial kitchens. And this story is silly yet poignant. The story is fun. The food looks amazing. Like, I want to eat everything that is in this movie. It is heartbreaking in certain scenes, but it's a bit of like this perfect combination between a childlike wonder type of film, but also aimed to a lot of adults. There's so much in this that appeals to every age level. Absolutely love Ratatouille. It is, up until recently, this was, I think, the best Pixar movie of all time. And until my number one came out, this one was my favorite for a long time.
Ratatouille, for me, I actually did enjoy the film, and it did make my top 10. Mainly because every villain, well, not every villain does get a redeeming story. This one did it perfectly for a reason. And again, spoilers for anyone that has not seen Ratatouille. Come back here later on if you watched the film. So Aunt Ego takes a bite from one of those things. Eyes widened, goes back to his memory of why he loves this dish, and mainly because he got into a bike accident, and he had his leg like, I think it was like, they didn't show blood bleeding, thank heaven, but he gave him the dish, and he gives it, and he was like, that's good. And then transition back, drops the pen entirely, and he kind of reassembles his childhood a little bit, and that they did it perfectly with the redemption with Ego, very well. And not every villain gets redeemable, but this one I can accept that, because it's kind of like you're going through a bad phase, but you want to have a good phase as well. So that's all I got to say with Ratatouille. And yes, it is one of the best Pixar films right before a recent movie came out.
Okay, well, very interesting. So what is your number two then?
Coco.
Well, guess what? It's my number one. So let's love Coco together.
It is one of the, both of us can agree that Coco is one of our favorite films of all time. It dives deep into Dia de los Muertos, which I can speak a little bit of Spanish, by the way. Not entirely, but they dealt with most of the situations very well. And Miguel is like one of the best Pixar characters ever to be put out. And what's even more is that it's a musical. And Pixar usually doesn't go through musicals. And Coco was an exception, because it was... When did this movie came out? November 22nd of 2017. And also with Olaf's Frozen Adventure, so you kind of remembered where this movie was going.
Yeah.
But the main story is you always have to believe your icons, but do not take them for granted, because otherwise there might have been betrayal. There has been a lot of like things in the past that they have done and they don't regret it. And some they do like plagiarism in a very, very, very gruesome way. And I'm not talking about one of my favorite characters, but spoiler alerts for anyone that has not seen the movie. It is such an emotional film. And for me, did this movie cry? No, because but I can feel it and understand why.
Right.
And I know many people cried when Miguel sang with his grandma, which I was, dude, that was going to hit so many people. And then a year later, the grandmother passed away thanks to Miguel singing with the song. And again, another spoiler. Hector is one of the best characters out of that film, because he's like funny and humorous, but he also takes it very seriously. And he is now being accepted in the family, which is a twist that you didn't see coming. But yeah, just wanted to give my thoughts out for Coco, and I want to know why you love this movie at your number one.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, I love music, and this movie might have the best music in any Pixar film. Every single song is expertly written. It is performed really well. The animation in this is just stunning. It has such this unique style. When you look at all of the Pixar films, nothing else looks even close like this. Obviously, the style of the Dia de los Muertos, it lends a lot to that, but the coloring is not like this in any of the other Pixar movies. They do it just this wonderful color palette that makes you feel immersed in the entire thing. But one of the biggest reasons I love this is because it is a heartwarming story about family, but it also shows that families aren't perfect. And I come from a family that is broken in many ludicrous ways. A lot of people that are terrible people in my family, a lot of people that have been betrayed. And this is a story that tells people that's okay. Stuff happens. Family can come first, but you can do it right, and you can take care of yourself along the way. Miguel, for one example, he sort of betrays his whole family by loving music and following his passion. And his family, at the end of it, they understand that that's okay, and they can get past it, even though they're a family that has hated music for forever. I think this is one of the best twists in any Pixar movie. I think that it's an incredible story, and I just love it. Yeah, this is easily my favorite.
There was also a deleted song that got cut in the film, and it was a music that was based on shoes. And I was like, okay, that should have been in the film, like right before, but I can understand why they didn't want to go that route. And there were like a couple of deleted scenes that should have made it into the film, but I was like, that would have got like a little bit of mixed reviews right before, but they took the direction where they needed to go, and it won Best Animated Film and Best Original Song as well. So that's Coco is my number 2, and yours is number 1. And I'm going to give one honorable mention if we got time, but my honorable mention is Up. I can imagine what would it feel like to lose a loved one, like us coming from a certain age, and with the Doug Day short that came out last year, this was a perfect ending to the Up franchise. That Carl's Day is like, you live on, you get to have another loved one in your life, but you also have some reminiscence of your past.
Yeah.
That comes within you. And Up is like one of those favorite movie memories that I remember seeing in the theater back in 2009 or 10 when that movie came out, and I didn't cry, but there was like this photo book, and it was like, "Have yourself a grand adventure," and I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh my god, that got me."
Yeah.
But it didn't. But it didn't make me cry already. But I can feel it. I can always feel a film very easily when it comes to my autism, and especially uh, knowing that it's going to have a severe topic, and Up did it very well for Up. So that's it.
If I was choosing an honorable mention, it would be one that came out close to Up, and I'm going to go with Wall-E. That is
That came out on Criterion.
It's a gorgeous release. Yeah. Love that movie. I think it's one of the better achievements for Pixar to put out a movie that kids love that had almost no dialogue for the first 85% of it. That's huge. That's a big deal for keeping kids entertained. So I think they did a great job with it. It's a wonderful movie, and one that deserved to be in the Criterion Collection.
Have you seen one of the films that they showed called Hello Dolly, or something like right before you saw Wall-E?
Of course, yeah.
Okay. I just want to make sure because I haven't seen that movie yet.
Yeah, you definitely should. I think you'd appreciate it.
Okay.
Well, Grant, anything else you want to leave everybody with as we pull this into the end?
I forgot to mention franchises, but I'm gonna let your people check out what franchises that I collect over the past years. But Ryan, you have been supportive since I've started, and recently just posted whatever comes up the boat, like Ruby Gilman, Teenage Kraken coming out in September.
I still haven't seen that. I'm dying to see that one.
It's similar to Turning Red and Luca, but it's better than Trolls or anything else within the past, and it's DreamWorks' Little Mermaid, unfortunately. Okay. But it also became a box office bomb, by the way. It is. But it's one of those films that you can feel and enjoy, and I enjoyed that movie in the theater. Very much so. And
I feel like they didn't market that movie very well. I don't think many people even knew that it was coming out.
No, I knew it because they announced it. It was previously called Meet the Gilmans, and now it got turned into Ruby Gilman because they wanted a female lead with that one. And other than that, I just want to say, Ryan, thank you so much for having me on. I don't know when this is coming out, unfortunately. So this is going to be like a pre-recorded session. But as the time this goes out, I will say that Christmas will be coming, and I will be having a little bit of a haul. And I might have one title that is going to be dedicated because Matthew Perry passed away recently, and we're all mourning for him. But I have my own way of supporting and dedication, and that is getting a series or a TV show or a movie that gets more reminisce.
Yeah, that one that one hit hard because Friends was my show for my entire family when I was growing up. We watched Friends far too much, and I have seen every episode probably at least 10 times. It was one of my favorites growing up. I absolutely love it, and Chandler was probably my favorite character. He is one that was the comedic break for many awkward situations, and just a great guy. Far too young. And it's just sad for sure.
Also, if you guys want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram, and I do have a letterbox. I would highly recommend Ryan, the newest film that I watched called Hot Potato: The Story of the Wiggles, which is a documentary based on the origin and life of the Wiggles, and it also includes expansion and diversity. Just want to make sure that, and it's available on Amazon Prime. Just want to give you a little bit of a heads up, and why do I love the Wiggles franchise for so long, and I want to recommend that to you, and it's directed by by 2 to 3 international winner, Sally Arquette, which is she is a wonderful actress, wonderful director, by the way. I would recommend seeing her filmography, and maybe one day it might be available in the Kino Lorber or the Criterion collection anytime soon.
Could be. I will put the link to your Letterboxd and Instagram in the description for everybody, of course. Give Grant a follow. He is one that posts things that he's excited coming out soon, and shares what's going on with his life. And Grant, you're just always a positive voice out there, and I appreciate what you do for film.
Thank you so much for having me. And also, and I just want to give a message to your audience. No matter what your physical media collection might be, you can have some ups and you can have some downs on what your collection might be. But the main focus is what you want to collect is the only thing you matter. Just keep that in mind, because whether it be film, whether it be music, or whether it be vinyl records or something that kind of appeals your interest, you do you. And that's all that matters within me throughout. And I always respect everyone in this community as well, especially with Ryan, KB, and Nathan. They are the best, wonderful people within this community as well. If you ever need me, I'm always there for you, bud.
Same to you, sir. And honestly, we're fairly close in the country. Most people aren't out this way, so it's nice to be semi-close to somebody. So thanks for watching, everybody. This will be going up the next couple weeks, and we'll be sharing the link around, of course, when it does. Again, appreciate everything that you do, Grant, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, take care, guys. Bye.
Thank you for watching The Disconnected. On the way out, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel, that you've liked the video, and that you've copied the link to be able to share it with someone else that may appreciate this.